What is the Voting Rights Act of 1965 and why was it passed? Imagine a time when voting was not easy for everyone, especially for Black Americans and other minorities. Many faced unfair rules that kept them from voting. Today, we're going to learn about a law that changed that. The Voting Rights Act of 1965 is a federal law in the United States that was created to stop unfair voting practices. Before this law, many states in the South used tricks like literacy tests and poll taxes to block Black voters from registering. These rules made it very hard or impossible for some people to vote, even if they were eligible. Literacy tests required voters to read and interpret difficult texts, which many Black citizens could not pass because of unfair testing practices. Poll taxes asked voters to pay money before voting, which many Black Americans could not afford. These tactics were used to keep Black voters away from the polls and reduce their influence in elections. The main reason for passing the law was a violent event called Bloody Sunday in March 1965. Peaceful marchers in Selma, Alabama, were attacked by police while fighting for the right to vote. This event got national attention and made many people demand action. President Lyndon B. Johnson and Congress responded by creating the Voting Rights Act. It was signed into law on August 6, 1965. The law had several important parts. It banned literacy tests and other devices that were used to discriminate against voters. It also gave the federal government the power to oversee elections in areas with a history of discrimination. These areas, called covered jurisdictions, had to get approval from the federal government before changing voting laws. This process is called preclearance. The law also allowed federal examiners and observers to monitor elections where voter intimidation or suppression was happening. It required some jurisdictions to provide election materials and assistance in languages other than English, helping people who spoke different languages participate in voting. The Voting Rights Act used a specific formula to decide which states and counties needed these extra protections. It looked at their history of discrimination and low voter registration or turnout. After the law was passed, voting in many parts of the country became fairer. Federal officials could be present at polling places to make sure everyone could vote without interference. Places with a history of discrimination had to prove that any new voting rules would not harm minority voters before they could be put into effect. Over the years, Congress has renewed and expanded the law to address new challenges. Some parts of the law have been challenged in court, and some protections have been weakened. But the core idea remains: everyone deserves a fair chance to vote. This law is a key part of how voting works in the United States. It helps protect the right to vote for all eligible citizens and shows how federal rules can make local elections more fair. Understanding the Voting Rights Act helps us see why certain voting rules exist and how they work to keep elections open and equal for everyone.